Testing, testing. This is testing for the captions for the 2022 Toronto Arts Foundation Mayor Arts Lunch. We will be beginning at noon. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hello, hello. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
As on.
Try refreshing the.
I have seen in the past on events that it's not until
It's actually, yeah.
like has uploaded properly, then you
Ah.
That makes sense.
and it actually like takes time.
Okay,
to
cool.
Testing, testing. Hello, hello.
Yeah, it's a big brainy computer. So.
Check, check, check.
Okay, cool. So.
So it's not gonna be live then if they open up that?
It's the best we can do. You know what?
Yeah, you're down in 1 ASL, so I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And like we haven't had anyone request it. We're just trying it.
Still not.
Hello, everybody. I would like to ask you to please take your seats. We are going to begin. Please take your seats. Thank you for whoever is banging the glass. That is wonderful. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Amanda Paris, and it is my pleasure to act as your host today for the 17th annual Mayor's Arts Lunch. That's a good number, 17. Yeah. As most of you know, this is a wonderful event organized by the Toronto Arts Foundation, and I mean, look at us. We're outside. We're here, in person. No Zoom screens. No sweatpants. We look nice. This is wonderful. I can think of no better reason to gather and to celebrate than celebrating the artists of Toronto. This is a wonderful reason for us to be together today. So as I welcome you here, I would like to offer a moment of reflection about the land that we are gathered on. We are currently on the traditional Indigenous territory of the Huron-Wendat, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Haudenosaunee people. This site has been a gathering place for storytellers, makers, and communities, both documented and undocumented, for thousands of years. And today, we gather collectively. Look around you. There are storytellers, there are makers, there are creatives. This room is filled with artists, cultural leaders, politicians, sponsors, philanthropists, and cultural enthusiasts, and it is so nice to be in this room with you. Yeah, sure, let's do that, yeah. Don't want to get emotional about it, but it's kind of a big deal. The past 2 years have brought a lot of lessons. They've been tough. And for me, personally, and I hope it has been the same for you, it has been artists that have again and again entertained, inspired, affirmed, and reminded me of why we continue to persevere, to dream, and even to live. I am so honored to celebrate some of those artists today and recognize the arts not as a token symbol or a superficial adornment, but a necessity to the survival and the well-being of this city. As Toronto becomes a harder place to live, a little bit more unaffordable, as cultural spaces are increasingly under threat, I hope that today serves as a reminder that valuing the arts means concrete, tangible, and systemic efforts. Hopefully we can make that commitment together. That was me kind of going off script, but you know, it's okay. So, I would also like to ask you to take this opportunity to get to know each other. At your table, alongside a really beautiful brochure and pamphlet, there is also a list of everyone that you're seated with short bios. Give it a read, make sure to say hello, exchange business cards. Maybe you'll meet someone who can finance your next project. You never know. That is your job today, folks. We have some Foundation Award winners from the last 2 years of digital presentations in our midst today. Because they only got applauded digitally, we need to applaud them really, physically, right now today. So when I say your name, please give us a wave. Vivienne Scarlett, the legend, recipient of the 2021 Muriel Sharon Award for International Achievement in Dance. Joanna Majoko, 2021 Emerging Jazz Award recipient. Not sure where you are, but yes. Natty Tremblay, 2021 Community Arts Award recipient. Natty in the house? Hopefully somewhere. Ebony Rowe, representing FemFat Entertainment Group, recipients of the 2020 Roy Thompson Hall Award of Recognition. Big up Ebony, right over there. Woo! And finally, Celeste Cole and Desiree McKenzie are here representing our 2020 Arts for Youth Award recipient, JU. Congrats. Congratulations to all of you. And now I'd like to welcome Susan Wartzman, the chair of the board of Toronto Arts Foundation.
Thank thank you so much, Amanda, for being our host today, and congratulations on recently being named one of the inaugural changemakers for the Canadian Screen Awards. This on top of all the success that you're having on your new show, Revenge of the Black Best Friend. So what an exciting time for you. We're so grateful to have you here today. Thank you. So it's a pleasure to be here again in the company of such a fantastic group of artists, art supporters, and city builders. On behalf of our board of directors, I want to let you know that the support and the commitment of everyone here inspires the work that we do at the foundation. Building an internationally acclaimed arts city is a shared project and collective activity. We at the foundation support this through our vision, Creative City, Block by Block. Many of you in the room today are significant donors and sponsors of the foundation, and I acknowledge all of your important contributions to our work. There are many of you in this room who are also partners with us in shaping Toronto as an art city, universities, colleges, and museums, Toronto's libraries and parks, media, politicians, and civic leaders. So thank you all as well. Many of our Toronto Arts Foundation board members are here today, including our past chair, Kathleen Sharp. Kathleen, I haven't seen you, but I know you're here, who has been a huge supporter over many mayor's lunches and evening events, as well as more recently our COVID response funds. And I would also, of course, like to acknowledge the vital and responsive work of our close partner, the Toronto Arts Council, whose many hardworking board members are also here today, notably represented by our chair, Dina Grazer. Thank you. So now I'm really delighted to introduce the mayor of this great city, not only a champion of Toronto as a whole, but a truly passionate arts supporter who understands the value of arts to this city. Please welcome Mayor John Tory to the stage.
Well, Susan, thank you. I was just listening to Amanda talking about wearing sweatpants, and I thought to myself, if people only knew. I don't know, you'll call me old-fashioned, and that's okay, but I wear most of the time when I appear on television a tie and a shirt because I just think somehow if I'm talking about things like the pandemic, maybe it conveys, and this is the old-fashioned part, a sense of that I'm taking it seriously. But I will confess at this moment, you having mentioned sweatpants, that I did many of those TV interviews on my iPad in sweatpants, shorts, one time even in long underwear, and no one knew until this moment. But it was actually, in a way, sort of therapeutic that you could do that, and no one knew the difference except me, and I was kind of just smiling to myself as I did those things. But the important point was more the message than the clothing. May I acknowledge just at the outset the presence here today of a number of my colleagues, and I think that their presence shows their support for the arts, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about myself and the council as allies, but Deputy Mayor Anna Bailão, Councillor Shelley Carroll, Councillor Gary Crawford, Councillor Joe Cressy, Councillor John Fillion, Councillor Paula Fletcher, Councillor Mike Layton, Councillor Brad Bradford, Councillor Francis Nunziata, Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson, and Deputy Mayor and Councillor Kristen Wong-Tam. And I'll acknowledge at the same time please give them a round of applause, yeah. And I'll acknowledge as well, of course, the presence of Her Honor. And I've said many times, I ask her, and I don't ask her, quite the opposite. I'm not trying to in any way, I've just said, why doesn't the federal government just move ahead and be honest about this and leave her as Lieutenant Governor forever? And I think that would be great, but she's been. So I think we're all very happy to be here. People have said today, isn't it nice to be at an event again? And, the events that were virtual were special in their own way. And I found that when I went to those rooms, thanks to technology, and had conversations, you could have a conversation that was sometimes even quieter and less likely to be interrupted than when you weren't in person. But there's just nothing like being in person to celebrate the arts, and nothing like being able to be back together. And I think the failure of us being able to be together, was scarring in its own way. for the city in many different respects. I think in particular of the effects on the mental health of children and seniors, more so perhaps than other people who are better able to deal with these things themselves. But it's great to be back here, and of course I think this event is so important to be able to collectively share in the success and the challenges in the last couple of years of artists, of art administrators, art supporters, arts organizations who contribute so much. And I hope you know that I understand that. Susan made mention of that in her kind introduction. But I'm going to say a few words today, both about, what did you call them, concrete, tangible, sustainable things we have done and will do and going forward, but also how fundamentally important I believe that the arts and culture in all of their respects are to the success of, to the prosperity of, to the holding together of, to the, to the future of this city, as has been the case in the past. But I will acknowledge, and I want to here today, that there is no group, more so than artists in particular, but also arts organizations that suffered more during the pandemic. Many people suffered, including some that I mentioned earlier on. But when you look at something like this, and this is not the measure of suffering, but when you look at the fact that arts workers reported a 34% loss in paid hours, more than 2.5 times greater than workers in the next most hurt sector, and that isn't even probably an accurate measurement. It was probably way worse than that, but you just can get a measure that people who were artists of all different kinds really suffered a lot during the period of the pandemic. But what we did see was a coming together of the community. It was such a lesson for me, and I'm a person who grew up as a volunteer, literally grew up from when I was a teenager as a volunteer in all different sectors, including the arts and otherwise. And I've seen people come together in the city over and over and over again, as we all have. But you saw people come together, including in the arts, to support each other during the pandemic in a way that was heartening and that we can take some lessons from in terms of the most effective way we can, lift each other up going forward in building a city that is, more inclusive and that, is one to even be prouder of than we are today. And we saw that whether it extended to helping lonely seniors, just to have someone in their life that they could touch base with because they were used to not being confined to quarters, to food security programs, to all the help and the incredible programs. And I should say he's here and he's about to leave the Toronto City Council, which is a significant loss for us. And some of you might be surprised, though you shouldn't be, to hear me say that. But Councillor Joe Cressy was a wonderful partner for me in making sure that the equity programs we had to make sure no one was left behind in the pandemic, especially when it came to vaccinations, but not limited to that, that those programs were programs we conceived of and executed in a way that produced numbers for us, that were world-leading in their standing. And that is something that I'm proud of as well, because that kept people alive, it kept people safe, and it tried not to leave people behind, even though you can never be 100% successful at that. So I want to thank him for that big contribution he made. So the Arts Foundation is also leading the way as we now try to recover, because the challenge in front of us now is to have a recovery where similarly no one is left behind, and that we come back stronger than ever is the expression I like to use. And there is no reason, if you look at the foundation in the arts and culture, the foundation when it comes to smart people, a fabulous system of public education, I could go on, why we can't be as strong or stronger than ever as we come back. But it's going to require some effort on the part of all of us to make sure that we do that. At the Arts Foundation, you have once again led the way with the Resiliency Fund, and I learned the great news that there's now a second $1 million contribution. No surprise from the Slate family, who always seem to be there before they're even asked, and they joined the Jackman family, Jackman Foundation, Family Foundation, in also putting up $1 million to that. And I want to thank those two families on your behalf for that generous contribution. And I want to acknowledge the kind of leadership you're seeing. That's but one small example from the Arts Foundation and from the Arts Council in leading a just recovery for the arts sector. And that is an appropriate time for me just to recognize the incredible contributions of Claire Hopkinson over the 17 years that she's been the head of the Arts Council and the Arts Foundation. I get blamed for a lot of things, and that's fine. I won't argue whether that's fair or unfair, but I also get credit for things which are clearly unfair, and that is the fact that we have an arts council that is leading in all the country, if not in North America, in terms of its activities and the breadth of what it does and the willingness that it has to step forward quickly in tough times like during a pandemic. And Claire has led the way on that with her passion and with her advocacy, and it has been key to the city's increased investment in the arts, which I'm also very proud of, and I'll mention a bit of that today, because because we have continued to invest during and before and after the pandemic, and that is in part because of her strong advocacy. So Claire, thank you, and we will have lots of opportunity, I hope, to thank you in other ways as time goes on as we head towards your retirement. But I want you to know from me as mayor, it's deeply appreciated, everything that you've done before my time as well. I want to also, on your behalf, thank in particular two people, and all of the councillors. The way our system works, everybody gets to vote on everything, and that's fair, and there are no parties, and I think it actually works surprisingly well as a system where collaboration and consensus is prized. And it's my job to try and draw that together. But there are two leaders in particular that have made sure that during the pandemic that we were there. I hope you will agree, and I'm going to mention a couple of things we tried to do: concrete, tangible, and sustainable. But Councillor Gary Crawford, our budget chief, and he himself, as you know, is an artist, a practicing artist, and Councillor Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson, who is the head of the Economic Development and Culture Division Committee of the city. And I want to acknowledge their contribution as well as the support of all the Toronto City councillors in the things that we did do and will do. And I'm now just going to sort of conclude by mentioning some of those so that you're aware of the things that we tried to do to show how important we believe this sector was to the city as a whole. And I want to thank them in particular. First of all, we reimagined during the time of the pandemic our city museums, and that has allowed us to do something that is extraordinary, which is to tell a lot of stories that just weren't told in the context of the history of the city through innovative initiatives like the Amazing Awakenings program. And some of you who don't know of these programs, you might want to go on the toronto.ca website and learn about them and go and experience the museums, because I think there'll be stories you haven't heard before. I've often talked about the fact that in my own case, I was a Canadian history student in my undergraduate years before I went to law school, and a lot of the things that I'm learning about now at my ripe old age were things that I should have learned about then. We all should have, but they're available now to be learned about in the context of the things like the Awakenings program. We've continued to invest in the different creative industries in the city. This has led, for example, to a record, and I'm so proud of this and so proud of what it represents in terms of the people, a $2.5 billion in direct spending on film, TV, and digital production, a 63% increase in studio space since just the last few years leading up to 2025. I've gone to LA every year. I'm going again in May to sell Toronto as a place to do that production, which of course employs so many creative people in our city. And they told us they needed more space. They needed a deeper and more diverse pool of talent. I was so proud to be at the graduation last week of a program that helps young Black Torontonians to get involved in the film industry. And I saw some of their work that they put up on the screen, and it was fantastic. And you'd be proud of it. And they're going to emerge now as superstars in that business in our city. In 2020, with live music venues facing crisis, we introduced a timely and effective tax break, cutting the property taxes for these venues in half. And this has delivered $1.7 million in annual tax savings to some live music venues in 2021. It used to say some number of there, and I think the number is 48. But the program has now been made permanent, and that is going to be a permanent program to help the live music business. Tangible, concrete, and sustainable. One that I'm very proud of because I committed myself to bringing it in, and it happened later, but it turns out to be a good thing that it happened later, and that's Artworks TO, which was originally started out as the Year of Public Art. That program injected more than $12 million into the arts sector. It supported 1,500 individual artists, 85% of whom are BIPOC, delivering more than 350 projects right across the city, and it's not over yet. And that is something that I'm proud of, and I hope that we can continue with it. It is something that is delivering critical and timely support to artists, and I was with many of the artists as their works were unveiled, and it was the first time they'd had some recognition. And they were very proud, of course, but so was I of the fact that these artists were being given a chance now on a scale that is epic. I was with a young photographer, and her, you may have seen the big picture that's hanging on the side of one of the buildings on Bay Street, right around King. And I mean, imagine having as one of the first things that drew attention to your work, it probably is 25 feet tall. And she is a young Black photographer who is going to go on, I'm sure, again, to superstardom now, but hopefully helped along and propelled by this program. And this was all about creating new opportunities for our artists to tell their stories and to make that accessible, truly accessible, to all the people who live in the city of Toronto, so it isn't just people who can find their way to these places or otherwise. And finally, I'll just mention on what could be a longer list, new supports for the performing arts, including dance and theatre. A new marketing initiative, Now Playing Toronto, was launched earlier this month with Destination Toronto and the performing arts organizations, and it is going to include incentives for corporate sponsorship. It's going to include a whole lot of different ways to help develop audiences working with cultural organizations. And so these are just a few of the examples of the work we have done. And I want to thank the private sector, because there are many represented in this room who are private sector supporters that have helped make these programs possible. When I mentioned $12 million, not all of that is public money. A good deal of it is private money, and example after example stands of people stepping up to do that. We got to look ahead too, though, and I'll just mention a couple of things that are happening now, and some of them I'm outlining to you today for the first time, so that this allyship, this important standing behind the sector, is going to continue going forward. The new Cultural Festivals Funding Program, some of the allocations have been announced in the last week or so. $2 million in funding to 37 cultural festivals, 32 of which have never before received funding on a regular basis from the City of Toronto. $400,000 in new funding to arts organizations outside of the city core. It's not blaming anybody, or it's not least of all me. I mean, I've tried to unite the city in my time as mayor, but the fact is a lot of the organizations that receive funding were downtown, but there's so much activity that is so healthy and so wonderful going on outside of the core. And so organizations like MOCA, the NIA Centre for the Arts, Rise Edutainment, and other local arts organizations are going to receive funding in a special allocation that was made possible by this year's budget. We're providing more than $500,000 for a program together with the Metcalf Foundation, their Work in Culture program, to have a new Catalyst and Transformation Fund to help arts organizations make the adaptations that are necessary in light of the fact we're recovering from a terrible nightmare known as the pandemic. And then finally, I'll just mention on this short list, in the next month, the city will be launching an Office for Creative Space, and this is going to do something that I hope is address a real need that has been brought to my attention, which is the real difficulty a lot of arts organizations have finding secure and creative space in the city. So these are things that I hope tell you that we continue to be committed, and they take us, in terms of the dollar amounts, well beyond the $25 per capita number that actually became outdated. It becomes outdated because you achieve it, but it also becomes outdated because it's not enough. It's never enough, and so we're going well beyond that, and we will continue to go well beyond that, because we understand not just that the arts and culture sector represent a lot of jobs, but it's much, much, much more than that. The jobs are important, especially as you come through a recovery where a lot of people lost their jobs. But I think these measures are going to be important to help us chart a new path forward for the arts sector and for the city as a whole. This city, as someone who's traveled, on behalf of the city to sell it as a place for people to come, smart people, creative people, people to come and invest and create jobs. One of the things that is most important is our embracing of innovation and creativity. And the best and the first place people will look to see if that is true, if we are really true to our statements and to our values about investing in and supporting creativity, is how do we support the arts? And it, in turn, fosters a culture here that does, in fact, support innovation and creativity. And that is something that, for the sake of making sure we can tell our stories to each other, and if you think about it, and I've said this before at this very same luncheon, when you are the most diverse city in the world, or when you're in a pandemic, the premium to be placed on telling each other's stories, on using the arts to even just stay in touch with each other, to bring people together, to have them come beyond some terrible feelings of isolation and loneliness that they were feeling, is highlighted. And never has it been more important now, never will anything drive our recovery as a city, more our recovery in every sense of the word, including economic, but not limited to that, than will a thriving arts and culture sector. And I know we have more to do to make sure that that happens. I want to just finish on that note, and it's something I'm talking about every day now when I speak, because I feel so strongly about it, and I feel it's something that I'm going to devote increasing amounts of my time to. I see in the world, we all see it, we all see increasing polarization and division. And we see some of it here too. Unfortunately, in this country so far, and in this city, we haven't seen as much, but we see it. And we see a discourse that now consists a lot of the time of people talking at each other or past each other and not talking with each other. And I believe one of the fundamental drivers that will allow us to use every ounce of strength we have to resist that trend that is going on in other parts of the world, including places very close to home, is going to be the arts and culture. As I often say, in a city like this, you can disagree completely with somebody on political views, you can have a different faith, you can have a different color of skin, and disagree or be different on a host of things, but you can all stand together or sit together and watch a dance performance or see a piece of art or go to a concert and be brought together by that experience. And so I think there's going to be more of a premium than ever, placed on the importance of arts and on me and others in positions of leadership, bringing people together here and resisting this polarization and division we see elsewhere in the world. And I believe that the arts are a fundamental way of doing that, as well as to make sure that we can tell each other's stories. When I talked about being a student and not learning about stories I should have learned about, then it isn't always going to be up to the school system to do that. The school system can do better than it did for me, and I'm not complaining. I had a wonderful education. But I think the arts and culture sector in particular can do a big part of that as well. And in this city, if we want to hold it together and be the model that we are, not perfect, but be the model that we are, admired by so many who still want to come here, that is going to be the key to our success, is to be able to hold it together and show that it is possible for a city as diverse as this to take that and make 2 and 2 make way more than 4, as opposed to looking at it as somehow something we have to try and deal with. We're dealing with it successfully. We've got to continue to deal with it successfully, and the arts and culture are a big part of that. I didn't congratulate as yet the people who will win awards today, and so I will do that in conclusion. You are something to be proud of. You are representative of a sector that is magnificent in this city, in this country, and in the world, and I think the world is coming to know that better and better, and I thank you for this time today.
Thank you so much, Mayor Tory. Small correction, it was tangible, concrete, and systemic. Yes, that's okay. That's fine. You can edit for the next speech. So I am so excited for this year's awards. This is a very exclusive room because you are all the first to find out who has won each award, and then a nanosecond later, everyone on social media will find out because, of course, if it isn't posted on Twitter or Instagram, did it even happen? So for those of you making sure that we are the #1 trending topic on Twitter, we can do it, guys, we can do it. Please use the hashtag #TOArtsAwards on the screen. So before we get to the awards, I'm so sorry, finalists, you have to live with these butterflies a little while longer. We have a number of people in this room to celebrate alongside those getting prizes. There have been a few changes in the Toronto arts community since we last got together, and so there are some congratulations to go around for those who are attending for the first time in a new role. So I'm going to acknowledge some of the new leaders at Toronto's arts organizations. I'm going to list them. If you could hold your applause to the end, that would be wonderful. But if you want to, you can do a little yay, yay, if you feel like it. Okay, so Andrew Tay, who has joined Toronto Dance Theatre. Sandra Cruikshanks at the Ontario Arts Council. Julian Diego and Paulina O'Keefe Anthony, yay, yay, at Sketch. Sanjeet Thakkar at the Music Gallery. Rayburn Ferguson at Keja de Dance. Mark Williams at Toronto Symphony Orchestra, Herbie Barnes at Young People's Theatre, and Heidi Rietmeyer at Museum of Toronto. Congratulations to you all. Alongside the welcoming, we also want to say a fond farewell to a number of remarkable arts leaders who, through their vision, generosity, and spirit of collaboration, have made this art scene and the city hum. Again, I'm going to list some names. Phyllis Novak and Rudy Ruderman, who founded Sketch and helped transition to new leadership in 2021. Nina Lee Aquino, leaving Factory Theatre to shine her light in Ottawa at the National Arts Centre. Ginny Stoke, celebrating her finale running Toronto Arts Foundation's Creative Champions Network. And Sally Hahn, who has departed from economic development and culture at the City of Toronto, where she was an incredible force. Thank you to you all. Your contributions will not be forgotten. So we have a couple of other notable celebrations. The Ontario Society is celebrating its 150th anniversary, and one of its leading members, Diana Bennett, also a former Foundation board member, is here representing this tremendous achievement. And finally, a number of curators, organizers, and artists who have brought us the amazing Artworks TO, which Mayor Tory mentioned, Toronto's Year of Public Art, are here with us today. Thank you all for this incredible project. Let's give everyone a round of applause. So, as some of you can see, the food is being dished out. So weird to talk while people are eating, so I'm not going to. I'm going to eat too, and I will be back up here in a little bit. Thank you. Hey, hello, hello, hello. I know everyone is enjoying the food and bopping to Justin Bieber, but if you could please take your seats, we're going to continue. So I hope everyone has enjoyed their lunch. It is my pleasure. Sorry, I'm a Scorpio. I need you to be quiet. Sorry about that. Just kidding. It's my pleasure to introduce the Griffin Trio, one of the world's preeminent piano trios. Please join me in welcoming violinist Anna Lee Patipatank. Sorry, let me do that again. Anna Lee Patipatanakun, cellist Roman Boris, and pianist Jamie Parker. Roman is one of our most celebrated Ukrainian Canadian artists, and he will be saying a few words. Roman?
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Mayor Tory. It was just wonderful to hear all that you've done to support the arts and to develop the deep appreciation that this city has for the arts. Before we share some music with you, I'd like to congratulate and thank Claire Hopkinson for the impact that she has made in this city over the course of the last 17 years. Claire, your vision and commitment to your work has reinforced and amplified the city's remarkable arts ecosystem, and in the process, elevated and celebrated the artists, creators, producers, administrators, and audiences from all the communities that define it. Thank you. Well, we've been getting back to touring in recent months, and you can imagine how wonderful and incredible that's been to connect with communities, with people that we've known in our 29 years as a touring ensemble. And just as the engagement with real audiences started to make us feel whole again, Russia commenced its attacks on Ukraine, its people, and their identity, destroying and ending thousands of lives, and with that threatening every principle that we value and hold dear. Today, we have two musical offerings for you. The second is a tango by the great Argentine composer Astor Piazzolla. Although it's called Death of an Angel, I can assure you that it will energize this room and set the tone for the continuation of today's celebration of the arts in this city. But first, we'd like to share an excerpt from a very special piece of music that was written for us by Ukraine's greatest living composer, Valentin Silvestrov. Silvestrov is now 84 years old, and until a few weeks ago, refused to leave his native Kiev. Thankfully, he's in Berlin now, and as a voice of Ukraine, the world is reaching out for his music like never before. Having been banished from public life in the early 70s for developing an avant-garde style that challenged Soviet aesthetic norms, for 30 years, Silvestrov's music could only be heard within the confines of the little music studio in his Soviet-era apartment. He explored the power and beauty of quiet music, and he reconfigured his creative output, and in doing so, defied his oppressors. As an expression of this community's solidarity with Ukraine, Annalie, Jamie, and I invite all of you, those sitting close by, those at the far corners of this room, to join us in defying the noise and horror of war and to create a deep and profound silence in this room into which we will spring free a delicate, ethereal, and consoling excerpt from Valentin Silvestrov's Fugitive Visions of Mozart. Thank you.
That was so thrilling, so incredible. A major thank you to the Griffin Trio. Thank you so much for that. And now I would like to welcome someone to the stage who almost needs no introduction. She has an incredibly long track record of working in and for the arts. She has dedicated her life to so much of this. She deserves a huge round of applause. Please welcome to the stage Claire Hopkinson, Director and CEO of Toronto Arts Foundation and Toronto Arts Council.
Hello, everybody. Wasn't that just beautiful? You know, music expresses what we often can't find words to say, and thank you so much to my dear friends, the Griffin Trio, Annalie, Jamie, and Roman, for striking the perfect note. Roman's a perfectionist, so I had to say that. But also, most importantly, for reminding us how very, very important culture and freedom of expression is, and how easy it is for us to take it for granted. So thank you for that. And I understand that TAPA, and Jacoba's here, launched the Toronto Theatre Dance and Opera Stands for Ukraine initiative, so please check it out. So you already know, we don't have to go. December's my last month. It makes this lunch really bittersweet. I want to thank Mayor Tory for being such a supporter of this event, for your kind words, but also for your support over the years for the arts. Thank you to the city for their investment in Toronto Arts Council. And also, I'd like to thank the city councillors and city staff in the room today for all your, well, just amazing sacrifices, your hard work, and your tireless efforts to help us through this terrible pandemic. It's greatly appreciated. Let me acknowledge the artists, the arts workers, the arts organizations who helped keep people connected during this last 2 years of restrictions, using such ingenuity to do so. There have been multiple great examples, and I'm looking around the room and I can just conjure them up as I look at you. Front of long-term care homes, on porches and parks, on walls, and of course on screens, which everybody became so adept at so quickly, and then ever so carefully, ever so lovingly, in theaters, concert halls, and in galleries. We have learned a great deal about the numerous benefits of the arts to the individual well-being over the last few years. Now then, more than ever in our lives, we feel the immense value of being connected to each other, being inspired, and being a part of Toronto's communities. So as you know, I always look forward immensely to this event every year, and I look forward to standing here and seeing you, some of the faces of our most talented artists, committed, inspiring leaders, great volunteers, dedicated community builders, and who all contribute so much to this really great city. So I feel it's a personal blessing to be able to be here this year in person with all of you. And this year, after the time that we've all endured, and as we still manage the ongoing uncertainty, as somebody said to me yesterday, we live in a time of TBC. I'm buoyed by an outpouring of support for the arts in Toronto, and I'm tremendously proud that the Toronto Arts Foundation has been able to provide opportunities for the private sector to support the arts, all the arts. And I know firsthand how important this mission has been to Toronto artists over the last 2 years. And Mayor Tory was kind enough to mention it, but you know, our TO Artist COVID-19 Response Fund, which we launched within a month of COVID and got money out the door within weeks to artists before CERB, with the help of city staff, of our tremendous team of TAC, and at the foundation, I think it helped galvanize us in terms of a sense of response and responsibility to this pandemic. And then the amazingly generous donation from the Hal Jackman Foundation, and then our deployment of those funds to the hardest hit arts organizations in 2021. And now, with the Arts Resiliency Fund, how thrilling it is. Our art supporters have so far invested nearly $4 million into the survival and recovery of our arts sector and our city. And so we're working fast. We're using all of our resources, well, those at our disposal anyway, and we're trying to help artists who are the hardest hit by this pandemic with having all of their contracts taken away from them. So we are going to continue to work with donors to continue to build that fund over the coming year. And I'm grateful to all of you in this room who've contributed to this endeavor. And you know, Toronto is home to nearly 25,000 artists and arts workers, twice as many as in any other Canadian city. And the pressures to live and work here are immense. The opportunities are great as well. And I appreciate that all of you understand that the arts contribute vitally to the individual and to society. The greater number of diverse voices we include, the more that we can support different abilities, the more value we have to offer. As a sector, we need to be a little bit clearer about the role that the arts play in bettering lives and community. And arts and culture, you know, are not a nice to have. They are a fundamental right. Innovation and persistence come with the territory. We know Toronto's artists will continue to propel us forward to make change. They will continue, and the mayor also made reference to this, to help shield, maybe that's not the right word, but to help Toronto from division and intolerance. So, and many of you in this room are doing that important work today, and I applaud you. So finally, I want to say congratulations to the amazing finalists. You embody the best of Toronto. Thank you for your skill, your creativity, your curiosity, your determination to make the world a better place. Thank you for shining such a bright, hopeful light on our city and its residents. And now, I'm going to move back to the Toronto Arts Foundation Awards. Now, some of these awards date back to 1991. Some are presented only once every 2 years, and all are very, very special recognitions with great meaning for the individuals and organizations who receive them. You can see a list of the remarkable people and organizations who have been previously honored by the Toronto Arts Foundation in your program book. For 13 years now, the Foundation has been commissioning an exceptional work of art from a Toronto artist to be presented to the recipients. And this year, it's an awards plate, and it's been created by Samir Farouk in collaboration with ceramicist. I was worried about getting his last name mispronounced, and then I can't even pronounce ceramist. What is it? Ceramist. Thank you. Ceramist. Okay. Alex Beaujoli. So I invite you to take a moment to look in your program to learn all about this year's plate. It's on the screens right now, and you can read more about Samir's work in the program. Now, I'd like to turn things back to our fabulous host today. Thank you so much for joining us, Amanda Paris.
Thank you so much, Claire. So we're about to get to the awards, but first, we cannot celebrate exceptional accomplishments if people don't take the time to nominate the people who inspire them. So nominators, we would like to thank you for your generosity in taking the time to put these stellar finalists in the spotlight. Please, everyone, a big hand for the nominators. And one final big thank you to our awards panel members, Cynthia Licker-Sage, Ruth Howard, Sarah Tharr, and Cyrus Marcus Ware. You did extraordinary work. Thank you so much. Okay, we are finally at the awards. To begin our awards ceremony, I would like to welcome Her Honor Elizabeth Dowdeswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, to the stage to give a few words and to introduce our first award.
Good afternoon, everyone. How wonderful it is to be here to say hello to some old and dear friends and to recognize some really important people. Mayor Tory, hello everyone, bonjour, bonjour. In a few moments, it's going to be my honor to present the Toronto Arts Foundation's Celebration of Cultural Life Award. But I can't pass up on the opportunity to say a few very personal words on the power of the arts, and particularly the arts in this city. And may I say, Mayor Tory, that it is my distinct pleasure, as I tell my stories of Ontarians to each other and to the world, that I can express such genuine pride about this city of Toronto, about the arts and cultural community in this city, and of what we contribute to everyone's quality of life. I do so as a resident of this city and as someone who's had the unique privilege of hearing from citizens from every corner of this province about the importance of the arts, how they help us express ourselves, heal, and find new hope. They touch our souls. And if there's any doubt of that, my personal thanks to the Griffin Trio for reminding us that we find solidarity with Ukraine and with the rest of the world through the amazing performance of music. Again and again, I've heard and seen how the arts can enrich and define both our personal and our communal identities. And that's why I want to thank Mayor Tory and the City of Toronto staff for allowing me to participate in their Year of Public Art. In partnership, we recently launched the Lieutenant Governor's Artworks TO Tour. It's a walking tour of some of the city's finest public art. My challenge was that there was so much to choose from, and I had to limit my choices to those that could be easily walked within a certain period of time. You can find out how to enjoy the tour yourself, hopefully on a nice sunny day like this, by searching for it on their website. But if I may, I want to highlight just one of the pieces that's featured. It's called Morning Home by the Saddle Lake Cree Nation artist Glenna Cardinal. It's a moving and beautiful installation that connects the forcible displacement experienced by the artist and her family from their ancestral territory to the history of land loss endured by many Indigenous communities. Significantly, that piece is located in Union Station, in a passageway that welcomes both domestic and international travelers from all corners of the world. And how often I've returned through that walkway, relieved to be home. And after visiting the piece myself just a few weeks ago, I was struck by how its meaning is reshaped and accented by its very public placement. How for a Torontonian, as it did for me, it might cause one to pause and reflect on the notion of home altogether, and on how the place we call home is bound to the trauma of displacement. How it might help educate someone who's never visited Toronto or Canada before about our complex history here and the legacy of colonialism, the imperative of reconciliation. Art at its best is never simple. Its meaning is layered and interpreted in the eye of the beholder as well as in the eye of the creator. Its community-building potential is tied to its capacity to tell challenging truths about who we are and where we're headed. And through the COVID-19 pandemic, when our worlds were made very small indeed, it was often art that lifted us out of hopelessness and isolation. From opera performances by Julie Nezrala on her condo balcony and not far from here, to the laneway murals depicting hope and grit, art that made us feel safer, seen, and in community. And those, of course, are only 2 examples of so many that I've seen and heard. That's the very reason why I wanted to take a minute to personally thank this Toronto Arts Foundation. These past few years have been a trying time for artists and for those who support them, and yet we've come to rely on their work so much more than ever. So on behalf of the people of Ontario, let me express gratitude to the Foundation for their tireless efforts throughout this pandemic. Through initiatives that you've heard from Mayor Tory, the TO Artist COVID-19 Response Fund, and many others, you've delivered crucial relief, and your ongoing work plays a vital role in rebuilding Toronto's economic and social strength. I too would like to take a moment to recognize a person who's been at the center of much of this work, Claire Hopkinson. She has, of course, announced that she'll be departing at the end of 2022, and I want to add my thanks for her years of leadership, for the many contributions she's made to the arts and to life in this city. Now, it's my distinct pleasure to help present the Celebration of Cultural Life Award. And I read from the objectives of the award. This award recognizes excellence in Toronto's senior arts practitioners, an individual performer, teacher, administrator, and/or creator in any arts discipline, including architecture and design, whose work is a celebration of life through the arts. So, let's begin the presentation. Amanda?
Thank you for that. The Celebration of Cultural Life Award is a $10,000 cash prize with finalists receiving $2,000. The 2022 award is sponsored by Maureen and Victor Dodig. In addition, the 2022 recipient will receive a complimentary week-long stay at Valley View Artists Retreat. This is a good prize. So, the 2022 finalists are Esmeralda Enrique. Esmeralda is one of the most celebrated flamenco dance artists in Canada. Her spirit and energy over the last 40 years have helped make flamenco a vibrant, driving force in the Canadian dance landscape. The panel noted Esmeralda's impressive body of work, including her contribution and impact in Toronto. At this point in her career, they said, her work and legacy must be recognized. Joy McFadden. Joy joined the Art Guild of Scarborough in 1970 and is still a member today. She served on its board in several positions and as president for 25 years on 4 occasions. She was on the founding board of the Scarborough Arts Council for 6 years, first as secretary and then as president. The panel was impressed, noting Joy's immense dedication to her work. She truly embodies the spirit of volunteerism. Dwayne Morgan. Dwayne began his career in spoken word in 1993 and has since published 14 written and 9 audio collections of his work. His talents have been celebrated internationally on 18 tours, as well as here at home as an inductee of the Scarborough Walk of Fame. He's also the person who introduced me personally to spoken word poetry at the age of 15 years old when I heard him perform at a Black History Month show on Eglinton West. Shout out to you. The panel noted Dwayne's impact, stating that the work he does in the community and Toronto as a whole is simply amazing. I'd like to welcome Maureen and Victor Dodig, the award sponsors, to the stage to announce the recipient.
The recipient of the 2020 Celebration of Cultural Life Award is
2022.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm a banker. You know, the numbers matter to me. Go ahead.
No.
No, you.
All right, Dwayne Morgan. Did I say 2021?
Thank you. Thank you. This is definitely a shock. I usually consider myself the Susan Lucci of awards. But they asked us to write something in case this happened, and I did. So first, thank God for this opportunity. Thank you to the Toronto Arts Foundation and whoever was on the jury that saw fit to add me as a finalist. Mayor Tory, thank you very much. My nominator, my sister Nikki, my mother, my daughter Egypt, who is with me today. My fellow finalists, it has been an honor to share this spotlight with you. My daughter has a poem of mine that she really enjoyed when I wrote it, and she memorized a lot of it. So what I would do is anytime I was going somewhere, I'd always try to bring her with me, and if I was going to perform that poem, I would invite her to perform it with me, and I would always pay her to perform it with me so that she could realize that there's value in the arts. And I think it's very important. Very important at a young age that young people understand that this is something that is viable and that they can do, and that there's money involved and there's commerce and business and all of these things. It's not just the creating, but there's a whole other world outside of that. When I began my career 29 years ago, I was just a black kid in Scarborough trying to figure things out. There were no priority neighborhoods, no grants. I wasn't welcomed by funding bodies or various events. I was told that what I did wasn't real poetry, that there was no audience for the way that I wrote and the stories that I was telling. I learned quickly that sometimes the door that opportunity knocks on has to be built by yourself. As a marginalized youth, I found myself pushed into the margins of the art world as well. I charted out on my own path and watched as people who would try to increase the size of the margins rather than welcome me onto the main part of the page. I wanted no one else who looked like me to feel the same rejection and marginalization that I felt. So I've spent my entire career creating opportunities for my peers and those who will come after me, many of whom are in this room right now. Today, I graciously accept this award on behalf of all of those artists who never quit, despite others not seeing their light. To all of those who've shared my stages, worked with me, pushed me, supported me, validated me. While I stand on the shoulders of giants, there are giants standing on mine, and I accept this for all of us. Thank you very much.
Well, of course he gave an amazing speech. Of course. Next up, I am delighted to welcome Catherine King from the Toronto Star to introduce the Toronto Arts and Business Award. Catherine King. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Good afternoon. The Toronto Arts and Business Award celebrates businesses that make important contributions to the arts in Toronto through innovative and transformative partnerships. Established in 2006, this award is presented in partnership with the Toronto Arts Foundation, Business and Arts, and the Toronto Star. This year, we are focusing on a business or corporation that has made a critical impact on an arts organization through a transformative, capital, or special initiative campaign. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Robert Foster, Chair of Business and Arts, to introduce this year's recipient. Robert? Thank you.
In 2019, Meridian Credit Union and TO Live announced a visionary partnership with Meridian Credit Union committing $30.75 million over 15 years. One of, if not the largest agreement of its kind in the arts and culture community. Meridian has well-being as its guiding principle, seeking to build stronger, more resilient communities. There is no question that in supporting the arts, you are indeed enhancing the well-being of the community writ large. As I enjoy saying, supporting the arts is a way of life. It's a marvelous way of life. And Meridian deserves huge credit for stepping up and having such an impact. The benefit of the arts on the well-being has been well demonstrated through academic research, living, and everything else. So it's really an honor for TO Live to have nominated Meridian and have Wanda Fonseca here today, who serves as Senior VP and Chief Member Experience Officer for Meridian, to accept the award.
Thank you, Robert. So this is a very special moment for me, but also for my colleagues at Meridian Credit Union. And I want to thank the Toronto Arts Foundation, as well as the Toronto Arts and Business Committee for selecting our organization. And I also want to congratulate all of the other wonderful and amazing nominees. It's an honor, and it's certainly a privilege to be recognized for the partnership and shared commitment that we have with TO Live in building strong communities and enduring communities. At Meridian, we endeavor to create memorable experiences and build trusted relationships with the goal of helping our members achieve their best life. This award reinforces the importance of our commitment to improving the lives and well-being of the communities that we serve. Helping enrich the cultural vibrancy of the city will help our communities thrive, whether by local theater, live-streamed programs, murals, cultural events, and so much more. The arts improves the quality of life in our city by inspiring, exiting, and bridging the unique differences we bring to our communities. I know I can speak on behalf of my entire team at Meridian when I say, we're inspired to continue this journey with the arts, for the arts has a unique way of creating meaning and connecting us to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Also, her outfit is amazing. Next up is the Breakthrough Artist Award. It is a $10,000 cash prize with finalists receiving $2,000. The award celebrates the accomplishments and future potential of an emerging Toronto artist working in any discipline. In 2021, the Emerging Artist Award was renamed the Breakthrough Artist Award, and the age restriction for recipients was removed. Amazing. The award is sponsored by John Hunkin and Susan Crocker, former Toronto Arts Council and Foundation Board of Directors Chair. I would like to invite Dina Grazier, Chair of Toronto Arts Council and avid arts champion, to make her way to the stage to hand out the award plate.
Thank you, Amanda. And while I'm up here, I want to reiterate thanks to Mayor Tory and all of the members of City Council for their support of the arts. Give a shout out to the board of directors and staff of the Toronto Arts Foundation who've put on this fantastic event. And of course, a salute to the peerless leadership of Claire Hopkinson. I now get to announce the 3 fabulous finalists for this award. Our first finalist, Nathan Cole, is a visual artist, photographer, writer, and aspiring naturalist, best known for his intricate and emotional wildlife scratchboard portraits. The panel was impressed with the ways in which Nathan's work connects nature to mental health and described his work as incredible and fascinating. Congratulations, Nathan. Where are you? I think you guys should give a wave when I announce you so we all know where you are. Our second finalist is Shelley Grace. A spoken word poet and photographer who uses her art for community building and healing while focusing on the experiences of women in the Black community. The panel was impressed with Shelley's work, noting the immense feeling and emotion that her poetry evokes. Congratulations, Shelley. Where are you? Our third finalist, Eponine Lee, has made a splash with her budding career in film, theater, and music, triple threat. Eponine was awarded Best Breakout Performance at the 2020 Canadian Film Fest for Queen of the Morning Calm, and Now Magazine's Breakthrough Toronto Stage Artist 2019. And if any of you, I should say, are basketball fans, as I am, you might have seen her in one of the NBA films for fans. It's called Shorty. It's really great. It seems that all of this may just be the tip of the iceberg for Eponine, with the panel noting that they can't wait to see where her career takes her next. Congratulations, Eponine. Congratulations to all 3 finalists of the Breakthrough Artist Award. Can I have a round for all of them once more? And the recipient of the 2022 Breakthrough Artist Award is Shelley Grace. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh. To win at the same event as Dwayne Morgan, the spoken word community is quite small in Toronto, so Dwayne has been such a figure for me the last couple of years. I might cry. Dwayne knows I'm a crier. I cry on stage. It gets me the awards, apparently. Dwayne and Desiree, who's over there, she's the one who, earlier, we won nationals a few years ago, so it's so special to have them alongside me in this room. I, like Dwayne, was hopeful and wrote a speech. So it's such an incredible honor to have even been considered a finalist. You heard the amazing finalists along with me, and I hope that we all speak to them later and support them in their work. I don't think that little Shelley Grace, or Sully Grace, who went to Peach Therapy, ever could have imagined a moment like this. But that's really what I'm about, moments. I write about them. Moments are what I live for. Readers and writers, you know, we begin with the happily ever after in our mind. But we know now as adults and adults who have survived a pandemic that life is messy. The last 2 years have proven that. But we have these moments, right? These moments that we remember as long as we can, these moments that bring us friends, these moments that bring us poetry and art, these moments that bring us happiness and sadness, these moments that live in all of us. Poetry has given me so much: expression, advocacy, community, but most importantly, poetry has given me friends like David Deliska and Desiree McKenzie, who are here, and so many of my friends who are out living such beautiful lives. So I want to thank so many people. I'll start with thanking the Toronto Arts Foundation and Claire and John Tory and the jurors who deemed me a finalist,
and my other artists up here, and most importantly, my parents, Scott and Sarah, who adopted a young little girl so long ago, took me to speech therapy, allowed me to tell all these beautiful stories. My partner, Desmond, who loves me despite going through the roses are red, violets are blue phases of my poems. And groups like Vibe Arts and IBLV and BSAM Canada, Agency and Jayu, who are out making such beautiful moments and allow me to be part of them. So thank you so much, everyone who's here. Thank you, poetry. Thank you, friends and family. And artists, thank you so much for sharing this moment with me and sharing your heart, capital A-R-T. And I'll leave today like I leave my online facilitations. Peace, power, and poetry, y'all. Thank you so much.
Wow. The poets are representing today. Congratulations. Say it isn't so. It's the last award of the afternoon. In 2007, Martha Burns, Jim Fleck, and Sandra and Jim Pitt-Bladeau recognized that an event celebrating the arts in our city could not be complete unless we were recognizing the dynamic contributions of and for our youth. So they created the Arts for Youth Award. This award offers today's biggest cash prize, $20,000, to celebrate an individual, collective, or organization that has demonstrated an outstanding commitment to engaging youth in Toronto in the arts. A generous donation from Diana Bennett and Spencer Lanthier ensures that everyone goes away happy in this category, with $2,000 to go to each of the 2 finalists. Now I welcome award sponsors Martha Burns and Jim Fleck to join me on stage. Not just award, yes, you can applause, please. Not just award sponsors, Jim is a longtime supporter of the arts here in Toronto, and Martha has led an illustrious career as an artist and performer herself. Please give them a hand.
Our first finalist is Erin Brubaker. Erin is a multidisciplinary artist and community activator with a long history of leading performance projects that amplify teenage voices. The panel noted that Erin's work not only created opportunities for young and emerging artists, but also provided them with an invaluable path to leadership. Congratulations, Erin. Next up, we have the Flaunt It movement and collection. The grassroots, youth-led, social purpose organization celebrates and empowers women, femmes, and non-binary folks while promoting opportunities for self-love, representation, and leadership. The panel applauded Flaunt It's innovative work and their efforts to make the arts accessible by removing financial barriers. Congratulations to the team at Flaunt It. Finally, we have Never Gallery Ready, which delivers media literacy-focused, multidisciplinary arts programs in schools, libraries, and museums. The panel noted Never Gallery Ready's 15-year commitment to their work and the importance of connecting youth to media literacy arts programs. Congratulations to them and all.
Never Gallery Ready.
thank you. Thank you so much to the Toronto Arts Foundation, the mayor, this year's esteemed judges for shining your light on what we do at Never Gallery Ready, as well as all of the fabulous finalists, our fellow finalists who are amazing. I'm so glad to have met them through this nomination process. Thank you to Ellie Carmona, our nominator, and the Toronto Arts Council for bringing them into my life. If you're not already familiar with the visionary things they manifest, don't worry, you will be. Thank you to Kiona Broderick and Atana Ali for your touching letters of support for this nomination, and to all of the families and participants over the many, many years. So many of your faces have been running through my mind these past weeks. Thank you for showing up, for pushing back, for your infectious enthusiasm, for your endless thanks and praise. The pride you take in your creative expressions give me life. To shine a light on what we do at Never Gallery Ready is to shine a light on the importance of media and digital literacy, which includes information literacy, algorithmic literacy, social and visual literacy, and all the ways in which messages are manipulated and aim to manipulate us. As these systems become increasingly complex, opaque, and intertwined with every aspect of our lives, helping young people navigate synthetic and digital environments is paramount to all of our futures. They needed our support before the pandemic, and luckily there are more folks aware of the size of the problem because they need us now more than ever. We need to meet them where they are at, never diminishing their online lives and social dynamics, but rather supporting them in creating social justice frameworks, cultures of consent, and ethics in tech. Please join us in reaching them. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So we're going to take a pause because Claire has to take a picture, and then she has to come back and say goodbye to everybody. So one moment. Okay, yeah, talk to your friends. I'm just going to stand here awkwardly. That's okay. Okay, can I get your attention one last time, please? I would just like to say congratulations to all of our finalists today. Before you leave, we would love it if every table arrangement found a home today, so we've come up with a way to do that. The person who had most recently taken on a new job or challenge gets the flowers as their congratulations. So if you don't know who that is, that means you haven't been doing your job of getting to know the people at your table and you still have an assignment left. I'd now like to invite, hi, sorry, hello, hi. You guys forgot I'm a Scorpio, I need your attention. Hi, thank you. I'd now like to invite all of the winners back to the stage for a group photograph. Mayor John Tory, please join us too. And thank you everyone for helping to make this day truly a celebration. Finally turn it over to Claire for last remarks.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I really wanted to say a big thank you to Amanda Paris for doing a stellar job. I'm so glad she's a Scorpion. I'm going to use that line. I want to thank our sponsors, our wonderful ASL interpreter, Joanne Martin. My God, she really held the room up today. the exceptional team at Toronto Arts Foundation. I love you all. A great thank you to the Griffin Trio again for beautiful performance. Have a great day.
Again, winners to the stage. Winners, is it the stage or the photo wall for the picture?